What's up, y'all? Y'all good? I'm good, man. We're gonna have a good night tonight. Kind of a special place. You feel special? You feel special tonight? I feel special. Y'all feel that way? I want you to hug the person next to you just real fast. Just hug them, say, I love you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, if you're from if you're from Eastview, where you at? That's my old church. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I was prayed a long time, 7 years. Prayed for y'all. Just love you. And Plainfield, where you at? Plainfield in here? Yeah. Yeah. That's my home. And the rest of us, how many of you I don't know yet? Where you at? Oh. Let's just be friends, all right? Let's just be friends. So you all know you have been walking through the story. Jesus told them on the last night. You remember he got them all huddled up. I don't know if you've been there, but I've been to Israel quite a few times, and I can see it playing out. He's got all the guys, and the girls are there too, and they're all in the room, and he said to them that night, Mark 14:27, you already been there, you're all going to fall away. As a matter of fact, Jesus said it's written, like brother, it's going to happen. I'm going to strike the shepherd and the sheep will be scattered, but I'm just here to tell you, after I have risen, I'm going to go ahead of you into Galilee. Meet me in Galilee. He told the girls when they ran to the tomb, hey, tell the fellas, I'm going to meet you in Galilee. I'm going to meet you on your own turf, in your real world. That place where I met you, I'm going to meet you there again. And you all know that Jesus didn't just say stuff. He said you're all going to fail. And here's the thing, they all failed. Jesus didn't. As a matter of fact, 3 times Peter denied him, and for 3 days Jesus was gone, buried, dead. But that's not where he is now. He defeated sin, you guys talked about this morning, and literally, death, where's your victory? Oh, death, where's your sting? You know, Jesus defeated sin, and so the great creator God, the one that we have been talking about, has literally come down. He didn't just create, he came down with skin on, literally to show us how to live and love, and obediently poured out his life for us. His innocence for our guilt. Past is gone. And then, see, if I'm writing the story, this is a powerful, this is where the story takes a turn. I mean, he's out of the grave, y'all, and there's power, and there's intimacy, and it just feels like this is the place we've been following Peter all week, and this should be where we hear the sonic boom, man, where it's like, everybody's like, Jesus, like we're just ready to rip the roof off, and Peter, man, he's gonna become the rock that he's supposed to become, the thing that Jesus whispered in his ear, man, it's time. Like, let's go, let's become what you were made to be, and remember all that kingdom power that you experienced when I sent out the 72. Remember when Peter went out with the guys, and not just once when the 12 went out, but again, they go out and they heal the blind, and they raise the lamb, and they take sick people, and all of a sudden they pray over them, they pop up, they preach the kingdom, they cast out demons, and this should be the time, y'all, this is it. And then Jesus pops out, and then Peter should be up, and he should be telling people, just like on that day of Pentecost, when the Holy Spirit drops down, and there's power, and there's intimacy, and everybody's amazed, and everything changes. Problem is, that's not the story. At least not yet. See, the real and then comes in John chapter 21, and it says in verse 1, you might as well call and then, it says afterward. And then Jesus appeared again to his disciples by the Sea of Galilee. This is how it went down. I'm just going to read it straight out of the text. In verse 2, it says, Simon Peter, Thomas, Nathanael, the dude from Galilee, Cana, sons of Zebedee, brothers were trouble. And the 2 other disciples were together, and all of a sudden one of them says, they're just waiting, and Peter says, verse 3, I'm going to go fish. Simon Peter told them, and they said, hey, you know what? We'll go with you. So they went out, got in the boat, and caught nothing. So Matt, what are you saying? Well, here's what I'm saying. I just think it's super interesting that after all that's happened, the fellas are not just like walking in what we all thought they were. They're in a boat. Now, some of you guys are like rod and reel fishers, and I get that, and so you're like, man, I love fishing, man. Like, I got time to kill. Like, I'm hitting a pond. We have a pond in our front yard. Even my little girl, who's 7, likes to catch fish. You don't know how to take a fish off, but it's cool. Like, fishing is great, but see, that's not what we're talking about. So what we're talking about is the kind of fishing that they're talking about. It's an industry. It's like when I'm saying I'm going to go fish, that means I'm going to go back to my old job, the thing that I thought when I was born that I would probably end up doing. Y'all, I'm going to go back to that. Anybody want to come? So they find themselves in the boat. Old job, old name. So I got a question for you. What do you do? What do you do when and they've been walking with Jesus 3.5 years. 3.5 years. 18 months they got with Jesus before anybody else really knew what was going on with Jesus. They got 18 months of Jesus all to themselves, most of these guys. I mean, they know who they're supposed to be right now. The problem is that's not who they are. So what do you do? What do you do when you know who you're supposed to be right now, right? I go so far as to say who you want to be. But that's just not who you are right now. You're stuck. Same old crew, same old plans, same old day to day, same old soccer practice, same old school, same old gaming, same old hanging, same old friends, same old problems, zoned out, stuck, sidelined. We can say, well, here's the problem. Peter made some mistakes. And I just want to clarify here real fast. When you talked about, Peter making some mistakes in the denial, I just want to make sure that we know that the mistakes don't get you on the sideline. That's not really how any of us work. As a matter of fact, if you remember, Peter has already made a bunch of mistakes, right? I mean, Peter was the guy who was like, I love this story where they're all on the boat and Jesus up praying and they go out against the wind. I've been out on this lake, and anyways, y'all got to go. This is like real stuff. So you're like sitting in the boat, and literally, I love the story because the passage says that Jesus went out on the water and he was about to just pass by him. It's like, what's up, suckers? And they're just like, and Peter's the one that stood up in faith and just said, Jesus, like, man, that's you. Is that you? I'm kind of freaked out. Is that you? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, if it's you, call me out on the water. And he gets out on the water. But what was he supposed to do? Keep his eyes on Jesus. What did he really do? He gave in to fear. He gave in to the storm, and he started to sink. And Jesus, that's not the only time. As a matter of fact, when Jesus was up in Caesarea Philippi, and it's about 6 months before he's going to go down into Jerusalem, and Jesus starts to tell him after 3 years of spending time with him, says, hey guys, I know that you love me. I know, but I'm here to tell you that things are about to change. I need to go lay my life down. I'm going to have to go give up my life on the cross. And Peter said, that ain't happening. Jesus, you are not laying down your life. And Jesus said to him, by the way, something that I would never want to hear from Jesus, get behind me, Satan. Peter said that, and he said, and not only that, I don't know if you remember this, but when Jesus, he was like just a few hours before being arrested, and he goes out into this place. I've been there. As a matter of fact, I grabbed some studly dudes, and we went down into the garden. We found, kind of a rocky place where the Garden of Gethsemane would have been the place of the pressing, where Jesus would go at his regular place to pray, and he would go down on his knees, and he would sweat drops of blood, and he said to his guys, he said, hey man, this is when I need you. We've been friends for a long time. This is when I need you. This is when I need you. I really need you. You got to pray for me. I'm about to fall into their hands, and I need you fellas with me right now. Ever had somebody need you? He needed them. But he kept coming back, and they were asleep. And he rebuked them. He's like, fellas, I'm not playing games. I need you. Peter's already made mistakes. We all make mistakes, right? Like some of you make mistakes when you come to Jesus, right? But here's the thing, when you make mistakes, a lot of times, especially when you're just coming to Jesus or just came to Jesus, you don't know. So like I've got friends, I've got neighbors, and they first come to Christ. Right now we've got a whole bunch of guys that are coming to, we'll talk about it later, coming to Christ in our gym. And we've had friends, kind of come to Christ to our neighborhood, and Jesus just shows up in their life, and they become believers. And all of a sudden we're like talking, and they'll come up. I remember this one dude, I won't say his name because, anyway, so he comes up, and he's just like following Jesus, and he's just like starting to crack open his Bible, and he's like, dude, and he's really excited. He's like, man, this it's a book. It's about Jesus, and he's learning. He's like, dude, this book is effing changing my life, man. I'm like, hey. He's like, can I not say that? I'm like, probably not. Probably, let's just say no. You have people that make mistakes, and they trip up, but I just want to be real crystal clear tonight. I'm not here to talk about your mistakes. I'm here to talk about something bigger, something that had Peter stuck, sidelined, out of the game. Something that had crept in his mind, and no matter what Jesus had told him about who he was, no matter what he told him about the victory that he had, something crept in his life and somehow pulled him back to his old ways, to his old life, to just stuck. It's 5 words, it's 5 letters. Shouldn't be a big deal, but it's this thing called shame. See, there's a big difference between making mistakes and the kinds of mistakes that really bring shame. Because shame puts you back in the boat. Shame real quick, and y'all have experienced it. No matter what's happened and what Jesus has told you or what you've heard in places like this, it doesn't take too long before shame will pull you back to your old name. Shame will pull you back to your old ways. Shame will literally, it'll rob you. Maybe you've tasted power once, but it'll rob every ounce of power. Maybe once you felt like you were like right there with Jesus and you were talking to him in your prayer life or worship and you were close, but shame will pull you out, will pull you back. And why? Because you know you blew it. And I'm not just talking about you made a mistake. But man, you feel like you had your shot. Should have been stronger. Should have. Shouldn't have given in. As a matter of fact, you had a moment where you would have done anything for Jesus. Yeah, you would have ripped the roof. You would have went home right now. Like, there are moments in my life, I'm telling you, where I would have, like just give me a stage. If I got to tell every single person that doesn't know about Jesus, I don't care what it costs me. I'm just going to stand up there, and I'm just going to tell. It's kind of like Peter. Peter, if you remember, he didn't, he whispers to Jesus, Jesus, I will never leave you. This isn't going to happen. Right in the room, he made promise, I will never deny you. He goes to the garden. The guards come to arrest Jesus, and what Peter do? He whips out a sword, and he says, if this is my shining moment, I'm ready for the moment. See, the problem is, like Peter, you would have done anything for Jesus, but you just didn't expect you'd blow it so soon. And you didn't expect you'd blow up for something so small. See, Peter's ready to cut off a guard's ear in the garden, but you fast forward him. And I want to be real. He's scared. He's confused. He's cruising through the garden. He's trying to figure out where Jesus is. I've been where they held Jesus. I've seen the courts outside. There's a mob of people. He doesn't know what's going on. And all of a sudden, he finds himself a fire. It's the middle of the night. He doesn't know what to do. And he's warming his hands, going, what are we supposed to do? I didn't expect it like this. I thought I was supposed to fight. I'm not supposed to fight. And he's warming his hands. And he's just doing this. And all of a sudden, this somebody just starts yapping, just starts saying, hey, weren't you one of those people? And he's like, get off me. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Like, oh, this guy's the one. He just said, no, I'm not one of them. I don't know what you're talking about. So then, he kind of moves groups, and he's like, man, okay, I got to figure this out. I got to see what's going on. I got to see who I am, and I don't know what to do right now. And all of a sudden, he finds himself again, and somebody says, no, this is the guy. I know who this guy is. He's like, man, I do not know what you're talking about. That's not me. And then finally, he finds himself, and it's interesting. We'll find this again. There's only 2 times in all of Scripture where it says a coal fire. It's just weird, not a big deal, but he finds himself at a coal fire, and all we know is he's warming him up. Warming up his hands, backs, I don't know what he's warming up, but all of a sudden, about a few seconds before Jesus is about to come out, he doesn't know it. But somebody says, no, I know he's one of them, Peter says to them, what? He says, man, he cusses, he drops, I don't know what bomb in Hebrew. I just make it up. Like, I couldn't have been good. And right then, Jesus sees him. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? I mean, you thought you'd be staying strong. You didn't think it would come like that. You didn't think you were going to be strong, but then you got home and you're figuring out your girlfriend and you got all that kind of stuff, and you didn't think it was those little moments that would lead you into where you are now. But right now, I got to be honest, Jesus has locked his eyes. If he could lock his eyes with you today, and you know what you would do? Shame's got you stepping back. Some of you went home and you're really going to make a difference in your friend group, and you're ready to be bold, and you're ready for a microphone, but the problem is there was no microphone, there was a locker room. In that locker room, you found out that you weren't being who you knew you are, so something tells you inside, man, I have my shot. And you get shame enough in your life, and you're just going to step back. There's a lot of reasons for shame, y'all. Now, if I go through Peter's life, it's not just Peter that blows it. Let me give him a rep. Peter was kind of the last guy standing. Everybody else abandons him in the garden, and we don't even know where they went other than John. A bunch of them just hightail out of there. And I got to tell you, there are a lot of people. Judas betrayed him. Everybody's splitting. There's a lot of reasons. Some of the reasons that we find himself in shame, I'm not even sure that all of them are their fault. And some of you know what that's like. I was in this coffee shop, and it's kind of funny. I was just telling Noah about this, and that's my son. In this coffee shop, and there's this little table in the coffee shop, and there's like little seats around the thing. Like, this is what you do when you come and hang. And like, I'm working literally on this sermon. This is just like maybe a few days ago, longer than that, last week. Doesn't matter. So I'm sitting there typing on the computer, and there's this kid walk in. He's probably about 9 years old. Okay, so it's gonna sound weird, but he's like had big chubby cheeks. I thought it was like this is just awesome. Just anyways. Chubby, cute little dude, and he comes in, he's on his phone, he's just texting, he's like super zoned out, which is like, everybody with a cell phone, and he's just doing this, and then he like plops down, like, this is my chair, and he just like sits right next to me. He's not even paying attention. I'm like, hey, what's up, bud? We're just gonna hang? He's just like, he doesn't even look at me, he just keeps texting. I was like, all right, we're just gonna put your arm around you. Like, let's just... And so all of a sudden, he's been sitting there for a while, and all of a sudden, I'm guessing it's his grandma, and kind of steps into the circle, and she sits down next to me. I'm like, let's just have a party. How are we doing? Like, let's go. What are we doing here? And she sits down, and she looks at this little guy, and I'll never forget it. She looks at him, she kind of barks at him. She's like, where's your dad? He just keeps gaming. Hey, where's your dad? He's texting, the little boy said, you mean Nick? Yeah, remember my mom got his last name, not me. He's not my dad. And I watched the little boy with slumped shoulders kind of get up, feet, like tail between his legs, and walk out the door. And some of you know what that's like. You know the shame that comes, that got laid on your shoulders. It's not something you choose, it's something that you received. You received it when they did what they did to you. You received it from a family member. You received it when maybe you didn't get your step-parents' last. There are a lot of reasons. You got it when you thought you loved somebody, and if you loved somebody, you'd be physical with that person, then you're physical with that person, then they leave, and then all of a sudden you're just left. And here's what I know about shame. It doesn't matter how you get it. I just know what it does. So what do? You say, well, you know what? Man, I might as well just go back. You know, maybe Jesus was whispering some stuff in my ears, and at a time I believed that, but man, you know what? I'll just go back to soccer. I'm just going to go back to gaming. I'm just going to go back to shallow relationships. Just go back to smoking weed. Just go back to just being physical and enjoying, you know, just sleeping around. I'm just going to go back to the high school game. Here's what I love about Jesus, y'all. I love this. And it's just my favorite thing about him. See, Jesus isn't content. He's not content to leave you in that boat tonight. And what I know is that there's something that happened between Peter's failures in this beach. And it says in verse 4, it says, early in the morning, Jesus stood on the shore, but his disciples didn't realize it was Jesus. And we're like, brother, don't you know who he is? But here's the thing. It says they're about 100 yards off. It's about a football. That's a ways. On top of that, if you've ever been, and as a matter of fact, I have a picture. Can you show this picture? It's of the beach picture. This is the beach. It's probably either 50 yards that way or this way. This is the Sea of Galilee. It was a powerful moment for me sitting on this beach. I had about 70 young college, just world changers on the beach with me, and I just sat on that beach and was just walked through the story. But on that beach, Jesus kind of shouted out, about 100 yards is a long way out, but he shouted out to them, and they didn't realize who it was, and he called out to them. He said, friends, and friends is it's actually kind of a lay term. He's like, brothers, what's up? He's like, fellas, what's going on? He's like, don't you have any fish? And you're like, man, get off me. No. And he said, well, throw your net on the right side of the boat. You're going to find some. And they're like, oh, dang, I think I know this guy. And so they did, right? And they were unable to haul in the net because there's such a large amount of fish. And then the disciple whom Jesus loved, John, the guy that's writing it, we get it, he loves you. And it said to Peter, man, it's Jesus, it's the Lord, man, I think it's him. And don't miss this. Peter, I love this, he's so awkward. It says, as soon as Simon Peter heard him say, it's the Lord, he wrapped his outer garment around him because he had taken it off. Okay. Anybody else, when you're getting ready to go for a swim, think, you know what I need? I need more clothes. Right? Nobody needs more clothes when you're swimming, people. But there's something inside of him that just says, man, where you taking off, and he just jumps into the water. And come to find out, he makes it to the shore about the time the boat comes, so it doesn't really pay off. But something inside, and I don't want you to miss this. Something inside Peter said, I don't have to stay here. You know what I need? I just got emotional. I don't know what happened. You know what I need? I need to be face to face with Jesus again. Because I know who he is, y'all. Peter remembered, I remember when that woman came out and nobody else had anything but violent threats to her and treated her like an animal, and she had no clothes on. And I remember the way that Jesus looked down and said, I don't condemn you, but I love you. I remember when there was that woman who had, she was just a street woman, and everybody in town had slept with her, but nobody pretended like they had, and she was just scum of the earth. And she came into that guy's house, and he was a religious leader, and he's sitting up asking Jesus questions. And I remember when she came down, and she just got on her face, and she just wanted to be close to him, and she wet his feet with tears and washed him, and she just wanted to be with him. And I saw how he responded to her, and I've seen his compassion, and I've seen the way he heals, and I see the way he does it. But here's what I'm saying. I'm telling you, I'm stuck. I'm telling you, I don't know how to move. I'm telling you, I'm tired of being sidelined. If I can just get to Jesus, if I can just have a face-to-face with him again. And I love it. He hops in. It says this. It says, the other disciples followed in the boat, towing a net full of fish. They were far from shore, about 100 yards. When they landed, they saw this fire of burning coals. Second fire. There with fish on it. So Peter walks up for his face-to-face. Here's the setup. Last time Peter was fishing on a shore, Jesus called him to leave an ordinary life and follow him. He had something better for him. Last time they had a meal, In Luke 22:33, and they're breaking bread, which is about what they're about, there's bread around the fire now. He remembers in that moment when they broke bread, Lord, he said to Jesus, Lord, I'm willing to go with you to prison and to death. And I blew it. And last time Jesus saw Peter across a fire, a rooster crowed. See, when you're face to face with Jesus, see that first minute. Maybe some of you are experiencing it today. The first minute, all you that hits you, it's your denial, the secrets you've been keeping, the lies, the lust, the hurt done to you, the hurt you've caused somebody else. And then the story keeps going on. It says, when they had finished eating, Jesus said to Simon Peter, Simon, son of John, do you love me? More than these, and I won't get into that, but he just says, yes, Lord. You know that I love you. And Jesus said, then feed my lambs. And again, Jesus said, Simon, son of John, do you love me? And every time Jesus used the word love, it's like a big agape, like massive kind of love. But here's the problem. Peter loves Jesus. But he knows just from his failures alone, he doesn't love him with that kind of love. He only loves him with a small love. It's a phileo love. It's like a brotherly love. Like, yes, I love you, but Jesus, you know I don't love you like that because I tried to love you like that and I can't. And so finally, he says, you know that I love you. Jesus said, take care of my sheep. The third time he said to him, Simon, son of John, do you love me? And Peter was hurt. Wouldn't you be? Okay, I get it, Jesus. I denied you 3 times. You're going to make me work for it. But funny enough, did you hear Jesus say one time, why'd you blow it? Why weren't you strong enough? Yeah, well, what were you doing in the basement? What were you doing at that party? Why you been hanging out with that group? You knew that where that was headed. Why did you just hop back in that circumstance? Why did you continue to have your phone by the bed? You knew. That's not what Jesus says. Jesus takes his great big love that he knows Peter's incapable. He takes Peter's small little love that it's all he's got. And Jesus in the last line says, because Peter says he was hurt, because Jesus asked him third, do you love me? And he said, Lord, you know all things. You know that I phileo you. But see, this time Jesus said, when he said, do you love me? He said, do you phileo me? And all of a sudden I think, and I might be reading into this. I think Peter, it kind of hits him, you know what? Maybe that's all he's asking. It's to love him like this, like what, I don't know that Jesus is asking Peter to love him the way Jesus loves Peter, because guess what? If you try to love Jesus the way Jesus loves you, guess what? It ain't happening. And I'm kind of glad. Aren't you? His love is so much more extravagant than I even understand, but he wants to know, do you love me? You know you failed me. But do you trust? Do you trust? And I need y'all to hear this. Do you trust me? That even though you failed, and even though that you're in shame today, that I still have intimacy for you. I still have power for you. I still have plans for you. You thought that means I'd leave? You thought for a second that because you couldn't go home and muster up enough willpower and do everything perfect and become this perfect person and just, when did he ask you to be perfect? That's what grace is for. That's the message of grace. That's the message of the gospel. The message is, you know what? I trust you. I trust you. See, there's a hard thing in life because I'm just going to be honest. It's going to be, it's going to shock you, but I am a train wreck. I grew up in an inner city project. I was raised in a pretty abusive household. My mom was a believer, but there's a lot of stuff that went down that I'm not proud of, and it shaped a lot of things in my heart. And when that happened, man, I carried a lot of guilt and a lot of shame. And I remember following Jesus for the first time. I remember going out into the woods, and I remember kind of always being that way. And I accepted Jesus, but I couldn't figure out how to live it at school. And I just as soon as I'd like have a couple big tries, and then I'd just kind of retreat and I'd hop onto the sidelines. But I remember Jesus speaking into my life in the woods. I was just out in the woods, and I was just saying, Jesus, I just kind of like Peter, like this just awkward. And that's what happens when we put our heart and our mind towards, you know what, I'm stuck in shame and I don't want to be on the sidelines, but you know what, I want a face-to-face with Jesus. I just want to be with him because I know if I can get with him, I know that I can spend time with him, I know that if I can get in front of him, I know what he's going to say. I don't know how to get there. This is me, and he's like 100 yards away, and I can hear him calling, but I don't know how to get there. Do I take the clothes off? Do I put them on? Do I swim? Do I pray? Do I kneel? Do I have to be perfect? What's he going to say? And I'm just telling you, I remember in the woods that day, Jesus just speaking into my chest saying, stop. Just get out of the boat. I'm not asking you to stay in your shame. I'm not asking you to stay in your disappointments. You just come to me, man. You come to me. You give me you. And watch what I do. And just remember that just started shaping me and changing me. Still changes me today. Because here's the problem with being my age and 5 kids is I still mess stuff up. I'm still not always the person that I know I'm supposed to be. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put up a picture of my family real fast. This is my family. Give it up for my family. That's kind of weird, having you give it up for a picture. I'm sorry. But the picture, it's my wife and my son Noah. He's the tall, handsome one. You're welcome, Noah. Freshman available, whatever. He's going to kill me. Noah and Sam and then Levi and then sweet little Ava. That girl just melts me. And then little Luke, best surprise of our lives, okay? And, he was a surprise. And he came to me like, okay, he was a surprise. Okay? Loving. But I remember this season, and let me give you a few examples because you need to hear this tonight. I really believe this. I need to turn off like speaker weird world. Can we just have a conversation? Because here's the problem. Y'all, I still have sin that Jesus is rooting out of me. He's brought me a long way. But the more I follow him, the more I just recognize I so desperately need his grace. I can be so arrogant, y'all. I can be so prideful. I can be so distracted. I can find myself in shame. I can find myself because of my past feeling like I'm not enough. Sometimes then I try to prove to other people that I'm more than I am. And then that busts too because it's all broken without him. And then I have to get up in the morning and I have to lead this family. I don't always do that well. So sometimes I feel like I'm stuck in this boat and I feel like, who in the world am I to lead this family and how can I do this? And I remember one morning just going to Jesus, and this is what you have to do. When you feel yourself sidelined, when you feel yourself stuck, when you feel that you're not the person that you want to be, but you know that that's not who you're supposed to be, you want to be somebody else, you have to look for every moment you can. And when there's a break in the action, when there's a voice calling from the side, you just say, I will do anything. If it's awkward, I just want to come to you. And I remember sitting in my journal one day, and I was like, God, I don't know what's going on with my life right now, but my boys are like, I think they're possessed, like they might have demons in them. And my little girl's perfect, that's cool, but then no, I'm just kidding. And then, no, it's really gonna kill me, sorry, man. I just remember being so overwhelmed. God, I'm such a wreck. Who am I to lead this family? And I just remember being stuck and sidelined. And then it was like Jesus just had to call me out of the boat. And he said, this is what I'm talking about. Just come to me, man. And I remember in my journal time, he's just saying, Matt, I have all power for you right now in the middle of who you are. I've got intimacy for you. I've got plans for you. And then I'm like, so give them to me. And he said this word to me. And I don't know how you interact with God, so we're all different. But I just remember him kind of whispering it into my ear, Matt, I want you to bless your kids. And anytime you hear from the Lord, anytime you have a face-to-face with him, it's just a powerful experience. And I was like, I don't know what that means. I think I'm supposed to know. I mean, I pray for him. But what do you mean? He's like, figure it out. I was like, okay. So when I studied this blessing thing, and I went up, and they were younger, and Sarah and I had been kind of not on the same page, and the kids were, just like, we're just going to cast out the demons. Like, just, and here we are, and this kid's already farted on that one, and like, we're going, okay, come quickly, Lord Jesus, And I remember I brought my daughter up in front of me. She was the youngest, and I started with them, and I just looked in her eyes and said, you know what, Daddy doesn't always know how to do this, and Daddy needs grace just like everybody else, and I don't have it all together, but here's what I know about today. I trust that Jesus still wants to lead our family in spite of your daddy. And he asked me tonight to bless you. So I just want to tell you who you are, girl. She was 5, and I just started telling her about the light that she is and the way that the Lord sees her and her beauty, and she just started big old crocodile tears streaming down her face. We're all crying. And I swear to you that night, the grace of Jesus showed up in my family unlike, I think, any time before or since. And I was a mess. He said, Matt, I'm not showing up in your life because you're perfect. I'm showing up in your life because my son laid his life down for you. When I walk in the gym, I can be zoned out. Again, sometimes I'm trying to figure out life, and I'm trying to do this, and sometimes it can be about me, and sometimes I could be, but then I walk into the gym, and I have to believe, like, God, you have me here today. Like, yes, I was a punk last night. Yes, I sinned last night. Yes, I yelled at my kid and had to apologize. True story. Last night, but today's yours. What do you want to do? Because I trust you. I trust that those don't disqualify me. I trust that you give me grace, and that today I walk into your intimacy. I walk in your power. I walk knowing that today counts, that today matters, that you don't wake up on any day and say, man, I wonder what we're going to do today. Maybe I should figure something out. Oh, how did that galaxy start spinning? I didn't see that coming. Like, you have plans. You love people. When I get a piece of your heart, there's no day that's ordinary with you. And then you walk into the gym. It's Planet Fitness. Don't judge me. And I'm just walking in, $10. I'm walking in. All of a sudden you start to see the moments in front of you, and I'm telling you, just from believing every single day that even though I'm a sinner, even though I don't always get it right, even though that every day is intimacy, every day is power, every day is an opportunity, no matter what I did last night, to wake up in the morning and say, I've been reconciled to you, I've been brought back to you. There's nothing that you can, that I can say or do that will ever separate me from you. I'm yours. And just don't still clap yet. Now, here's the thing. We've had about 15 young dudes come to Christ in that gym. You know why? Because a punk guy like me, that if mistakes pull you out of the game, if mistakes pull you out of his presence, if mistakes just means you're sidelined, you're never gonna be close to him again, guess what? I should have been sidelined a long time ago. But here's the reality. That's not who he is. And when we just say, man, I just want to hop out of the boat and I don't know how to do it, and it might be clunky, and yes, I messed up last night, but I'm jumping in the waters and I want to see you face to face, stuff happens. I can tell you that when we had this day and we were praying about some stuff, and I felt like I had some. I'll be honest, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm just saying, I had some sin in my life that not a whole lot of people knew about. And one night, I'm living in that, and I confessed that to my wife, and she prayed with me, and we had some healing, and then we're praying, and we felt like the Lord was telling us to put a for sale sign in the yard. So we were like, okay, so we know what that means. We've been punks, and we've been trying to witness, but we're not always great at that. And we're broken people, and sometimes we're like, hey, Sally, hey, Joe, get off the car right now. We love Jesus. We're nice to you. Like, we're figuring out how to be examples in our neighborhood, and the Lord just says, just go put a sign on the yard. We put the sign on the yard. Guy comes down, says, I'll just do the short story. Short story is, the sign in the yard, I'm in a conversation with this dude, fast forward 6 years, and that neighbor is not only his whole family came to Christ within a year, he led parents and aunts and uncles to Christ. They have 3 kids right now, and he's a pastor at our church, already ordained, and he's only been a believer for 6 years. But hear this. Man, every day, Every night I mess up. And every day I have this, and sometimes I do this in the morning, sometimes this late at night, it just dawns on me that just because I failed doesn't mean I'm out. And Jesus, I trust you. I trust your grace in my life. I trust that even though that's the person that I am, that you see something different in me, and that if I walk in that power and that intimacy, if I just jump out of the boat, and I don't know what that looks like, but I just, as clunky as I am, and sometimes I get it wrong, and sometimes I just feel like kneeling, and sometimes I feel like praying, and sometimes I feel like going on a walk, and sometimes I just need a break, and I'm not even sure any of it's right, but here's what I want, Jesus. I want, when I'm stuck, when I'm sidelined, when I've blown it, I just want you. I want your face, I want your eyes, I want your intimacy and your power, and I know when I get to you, I know what happens. You restore me. And you use me in ways that humble me so deeply, Father. I don't get why you use me, but I'd give my life for it. But I got to keep coming. I got to keep coming. And some of you right now, you've been locked up with shame. What you've been doing with your girlfriend, the people that you've been hanging with, the zoned out life that you thought you were called out of, but then you went back and you found that that's not where you came from and that's not what you did. And all of a sudden you were like, maybe I was meant for ministry, and maybe I was called to something great, and maybe I was supposed to, like everybody else, had an ordinary life, but Jesus whispered in my ear, and I know he was calling me to an extraordinary life, but I wanted to be a part of that, but bam, this happened, and I blew it here, and she blew it there, but then we both blew it here, and then my parents never changed, and that past came back like a roaring lion, and you pull back and you settle. And I'm just here to tell you, brothers and sisters, tonight, get over the awkwardness. Get past those whispers that have been told to you. Make your way for Jesus. You need to fall on your knees tonight because you just feel like it's right. Fall on your knees, man. If you want to, I don't know what he's going to lead you to do. I don't know what these next 2 days are going to be like. I don't know what's going to happen when you get home, but I know this. If you can get to his face, if you can get to his eyes, I promise he won't just restore you. He'll use you. And he'll use you powerfully. So I'm going to do this, and the band's going to come out, and I hope this is okay. I just totally made this up right now, but I love this guy. We've been friends for a long time, and when he sings, I just want to weep and worship Jesus. So can I give y'all an opportunity tonight? Just as your brother. Like how many of you in your hearts you just feel like, man, I know what God called me to. But that's not who I am right now. If that's you, can I just ask you to stand on your feet right now? Is that okay? I don't know where boldness went, but if that's you, you're just walking in shame, walking in distance. You know you're supposed to have power, but it's not there. You know you're supposed to have a prayer life, but it's not there. You know you've got distance. You feel stuck right now. Soccer's just soccer. Right now, home is just home. Right now, hanging out with friends is just gaming. Right now, going to parties is just getting through. And can I give you a little bit of a gift? I love that Selah moment. Can I give you a gift right now? That's not me. Would you just close your eyes right now? And would you have the conversation that he's been waiting for you to have? Where he looks past your shame, and he looks past your mistakes, and he looks past your distance, and he looks past the lies that you've been believing about yourself because you've been making mistakes that you've made. And would you just, whatever it means for you, I don't know, y'all, because for all of us it's so different. Would you just come to him right now? Would you talk to him right now? We just tell him, I'm just giving you some space. Just tell him, and you just want him. If you want to drop to your knees, drop to your knees. If you want to stand up and raise your hands, I don't care. Just stop worrying about anybody else in the boat. Who cares about the people in the boat? I'm talking about Jesus. And would you let him heal you so that you can get back to the thing that you were destined for, y'all? But you got to get to him. You got to have that face-to-face moment. So I just want to give you some time right now. Would you take it? And I'll just close this in prayer, okay? Talk to him. If you want to fall on your knees, fall on your knees. Come back to him. Out of the boat. Off the edge of this Christian crowd where it seems like everybody else is in, but you're still distant. Talk to him. Father, tonight we stand before the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, who didn't just save us in a distant way from our sins as a one-time token, get us in the club way, but you are the God who came down with skin on, and you walked with us, and you got to know us, and you loved us, and you showed us what it was like to have a relationship with others and with you. And then, Father, you laid down your life, and you didn't stop there. Because if you would have stopped, God, we would have received that salvation like it's a one-time gift to get us into heaven and get in the club. Then when we find ourselves zoned out on the sidelines, broke, feeling empty, going back to just doing what our friends are doing and the people are around us, and we just go back to the old dreams and old plans. And Father, you are calling all of us from the shore tonight. Just saying, man, just come. Yeah, bring your brokenness from last night. Bring your shame that you've been lugging for the last 3 months since you thought you were strong enough and found out you weren't. And you bring it to me. And then you watch as we trust you. And God, we trust you. Father, would you begin to move in us in power, in authority, in intimacy. God, we allow, Father, your Holy Spirit to move right past our sin and shame and into these eyes that need to see people the way you see them. Father, these arms that need to hold people and reach out to people and protect people. Father, would you move past our sin and our failures from last week and move right into this heart of ours, God, that we would feel what you feel. Father, would you move into these legs that have made decisions to go places, God, that you know we have no business going. That is not who we are, but somehow we went there. And Father, we need you in a face-to-face moment, Father, to come in, to get into these legs and to take these feet where you want them to go. Father, we make mistakes along the way, but we're not going to let it sideline us. I guess we're going to go back and we're going to make a mistake, but we're not going to allow that mistake to erase the voice of grace, to erase the voice of purpose, to erase the voice of destiny and kingdom calling out of our lives, because there isn't a mistake we can make that will call us out of the intimacy, authority, calling that you've made for us, and we're not settling. So tonight, we don't just come as a one-time, hope we get close to you in sticks way. We join to you. We connect with you. We stand face to face with you and say, tonight we're in, and we're in for good. And we receive your grace. We're asking you to erase our shame. We love you, Father. It's in the powerful name of Jesus we pray. Amen.